for a little bit. So, like I said, finally dope to get you on here and talk about that. And like I said, you're familiarized with, the Dallas area, and there's we'll get right into it with the draft, and you know, obviously the Knicks selected Muhammad Diawara with that 51st pick, but the guy they took, an undrafted free agent, Dink Pate, I would have been cool at 51. Like he was someone I had top 60 on my board. And Muhammad Diawara, like I said, I didn't know too much about. I know he was a kind of more of an upside type of guy, but I would have been cool with Dink. I thought Dink, he gets kind of a bad rap because of the like you just look at his splits and you're just people automatically get turned off. And I've seen that a lot, with people looking at him saying, "Oh man, this guy is inefficient," blah blah blah. And I understand that, but I always said there's always more context to that. But I think if if you can coach up Dink, because I think obviously with how he was with the Ignite, and then that disbanded is no longer a thing. The G League Ignite. He did improve his second year with Mexico City, so I think there's some things to like, but you know a lot about Dink. That's really I wanted to get you on because you know a lot about Dink Pay, and so tell me what people should know more about Dink.
Well, we had a European scout named Ersin Demir on the Knick of Time show last week, and we were talking with him, and he was going through all the different options of who the Knicks chose, and him and I got into a little bit of a debate about whether the Knicks should go safe or go for home run swings. He thought the Knicks should go safe because they had some guys that had a lot of talent in that starting five, and they needed some positional help in the backcourt and maybe even another bid. I thought it should be all home run picks. I thought that we should trade back, try to get 2 second-round picks, and go for a home run smash with both. And wouldn't you know it, we did. One of them we didn't even have to trade for. We were able to sign undrafted. And I was very surprised that no team took a flyer on Dink. And I think it's because of what you said, which is a shooting splits. And if you look at the shooting splits, there's more to infer if you watched any game tape of him, specifically in Mexico City, which is the most recent tape. You will understand why those shooting numbers were so bad. First, let's talk about the context. He's an American player from West Dallas, played for Pinkston High School, which is where the AAU team that he played for, I'm now helping them out. So I'm at every practice. We played last night. We won all 3 of our games. We beat Tyrese Maxey's team, his AAU team. So that was a Knicks win for me, where a Knicks player's team is beating a Philly player. But the area that he's from is very inner city. It's fairly diverse, but it's America, and it's first world. He's going to Mexico City, another area that I'm very familiar of. My ex-girlfriend had a lot of family there, so we spent a lot of time going to art fairs and art galleries there. It can be fairly dangerous, especially when it's not a tourist time of year and it's just the nationals. There is lots of corruption, lots of crime, lots of cartel activity. So from what I've gathered, talking to his former AAU coaches and families, that there was a little bit of a difficulty in the cultural adjustment. And it's hard to think about efficiency and think about shots when shit's blown up outside and the threat of real violence is around you 24/7. That existential threat is very real and can have a serious impact on him. I think that team would have been in America. There would have been maybe a gradual uptick in some of the shooting splits and percentages because you're not worried about your life or death situations outside. Now, he's never said any of this, right? His interview with Slam, the mission is basketball. I'm taking him with basketball. He's very complimentary about the culture in the city, and I am too. It's a beautiful city, but it's not the United States. It is Mexico City, and there's a lot of danger there. And I think that culture shock might have had something to do with some of the inefficiencies that we saw. But there is a lot of good and bad with his game. Now, had the luxury, not many people have. I can talk to all the coaches that coached him with DFW Urban Elite. I can talk to his family, which I have. I've been texting with them the last couple of days. And there are some really huge upsides with Dink. He is an elite athlete for sure. And I think a lot of what we saw that was demanded more in the G League, I think we're going to see some of that develop in the G League in the United States with the Knicks Westchester team, which I think he's going to spend the majority of his time with. His athleticism, size, and instincts, I think right off the bat, are going to provide a very unique downhill transition game player where he needs to really improve from the tape that I watched in Mexico City is his decision-making. His reads, I think, are a little bit below average for someone who is a point guard, but then you have to account for his age. Kid is only 19, been playing professional since 17. And he wasn't someone who got in the NBA like Luka or these European guys at 9 or 10. He got in around the middle school, high school years. And I think it took him a while to really adjust positionally. The coach put a ball in his hands, told him, hey, you can see over everybody else because of your height. Play point guard. But in reality, his skill set isn't really a point guard. To me, it's more of an off-ball wing. His catch and shoot numbers, shooting 37% in the G League, I think that's indicative and set with the before the defense is set. That's what you're going to see with him with the Westchester Knicks, which I think he's going to get a lot of reps from and benefit from playing off the ball. I think on the ball is where he struggles, making those reads, being able to finish in the half-court sets, being able to have pull-up opportunities, whether it's beyond the arc or in the mid-range. That's where the work needs to be put in. But the athleticism, the promise of switchability, where some of the tape I watched, he wasn't really efficient with the switches. So a lot of his teammates had to say, move up, whatever it is, move up to the line or crash out to the corner. There were some mistakes there, missed in rotation that I think he needs. That's just IQ and playing more reps with high-level players. Those things are going to go up as well. But the potential with this kid is sky high. I don't think he's a real point guard. And I don't think that the guys we've seen in the past, the archetypes, Alonzo Ball, those guys come in with that size and they have the very high IQ. That's not necessarily Dink Pate. I think Dink Pate can play some point guard and guard some guards as well in Alonzo Ball type situations, but I think he's more suited for an off-ball role in the wing.
What about some of the defensive stuff? Because he has the defensive upside to potentially be a solid defender. And in order for, young guys, they got to, in order to crack a rotation, you're going to have to play some type of defense, because he's not going to be able to get those opportunities, a lot of opportunities to get the ball in his hand, especially on this team potentially, so what do you think about the defensive potential upside? Because there is some there, but he had a lot of defensive inconsistencies, in the G League.
He did. It's going to be something that he has to work on. Again, you can't teach size. He has that. So he has to learn how to utilize his size and be smarter with his reads. And I think that he will have some success guarding smaller guards just because of a 6'9", 6'10" wingspan. He'll be able to contain some of the point of attack that he'll be on the defensive side of the ball. But that's not going to be his role in the NBA. I think he needs to learn to be better at closing out on shooters and better in rotation off of ball screens. That's where I think he needs to pick up the effort because he has a foot speed, he has a wingspan, he has athleticism. So right now, it's about adaptability. And it's about being more comfortable being on the court and knowing your role. Right now, his role has been kind of in flux. He wasn't really on ball a lot with that Mexico City team. Trey Burke was on ball with that team. He really ran the point, and Dink was more of a catch and shoot option on the perimeter, which he was pretty good at. And I think those skills would translate into the Westchester Knicks. But right now, I think defensively, he's got to learn how to use his body. Because, dude, you're 6'8", you got 6'9", 6'10" wingspan. You're one of the tallest guards in the NBA immediately, but you have to learn how to guard in space, to play with gaps, and to be smart in rotation. And that, I think, is a skill set that he has to grow up in, learn up in. Because the size, he can guard 1, 2s, and 3s, hypothetically, right? But we haven't seen that efficiently yet.
So, obviously, we saw a lot of he was crazily inefficient in that first year in the G League, and with the G League at 9, obviously made a bit of a leap. Is the second season in Mexico City. What was the biggest thing you think for that leap? And obviously, you mentioned before, just there was go to Mexico City was crazy, but like, what did you see that what made you feel good about that? Him making that leap from year 1 of G League to year 2.
I think from what I've heard, a lot of it was just maturity, growing into his body, becoming more comfortable with his body and his size and his role, maturation. When we first joined the G League at 9, he was 17 years old. Like, really think about that. When I was 17 years old, I was a elite dipshit, right? I was in no way playing for any type of organized ball or any organized anything, bro. I was running these streets, to get my ass beat on the daily. So I think it's just about being a professional and playing within a system and within a team, because a lot of AAU ball, some of the time, you get opportunities to go very ISO and do your own thing. There's not a lot of discipline. There's not an emphasis on fundamentals. You're supposed to learn those things in a high school program that you're at. You come to AAU to show them off, not necessarily to learn fundamentals. And I don't know if Dink Pate has ever had a system where he's really been entrenched in fundamentals and to learn really how to use your body in spots, how to be a really tight ball handler, how to really know where your teammates are going to be on the break. And I think when you get inside the free throw line, his instincts are a little bit higher. I think that's where his passes become more efficient and more crisper, is in transition. It's in those half-court sets which I think is going to be to our advantage because this is not a player I think Leon Rose would have selected if Tibbs was a head coach, because there would have been no way
he's no Tibbs guy.
Never gotten reps. And I think it would have been less likely that the system that would have been ran for the Westchester Knicks wouldn't be conducive to his skill set either. Right now, I think I'm hoping this Nets coach that we have institutes more transition, more getting out in the break, because the Knicks have been in the bottom pace under Tibbs almost every single
bottom
year.
5 every year, it feels like.
If that changes, Dink Pate has an opportunity, I think, to crack the rotation next year in some spot minutes. I mean, there's no chance this year. Right now, he's just fighting for a spot on the team. But there is an opportunity playing with these awesome guys we got in the summer league to really learn from them, especially Tyler Kolek is the one I'm specifically looking at that will help him as an off-ball player become more comfortable and catch and shoot, which was the biggest jump from year 1 to year 2 in the G League, with him hitting almost 38% from catch and shoot opportunities on the perimeter.
And that's the thing with a lot of these guys we had from last year, and Dink and Diawara, like, now that we're going to have a more modernized coach who's going to, play a more upscale type of, op offense, like, we can actually envision, like, I remember doing last year's draft and just looking at guys who were Tibbs guys, just trying to see, all right, which players are just Tibbs guys, because we know, like, he has a type. And now it's like, oh, we can actually just draft good players and just, because we know whoever the coach is, and we'll discuss that in a little bit, whoever the coach is, they're going to have a more modern day approach to offense. And now we could just, try to draft guys who are more transition type guys, so it gives you more of a advanced thought process of what these guys could do, instead of just having, all right, we just need a certain player because this is what Tibbs wants, and Dink is, like you said, Dink would not have been that. Diawara maybe, because there's some defensive, instincts that, Tibbs would like. There's obviously massive. He has a 7-foot crate, full wingspan and stuff. So there, but Dink. The last thing with Dink, because I know it's crazy that people are going to be like, why they focus so much on a guy who is undrafted, but there's like I said, there's a lot of upside, and if he hits, I said, Lee, like, he's a lotto talent. Talent alone, he's a lottery talent, and everyone has been saying this for years. Like, he's a lottery talent. It's just, maybe some bad decisions. We're going to G League and stuff, but if you figure him out, you could get something here. That's why I think people are kind of excited about him, because the potential is like, we could get a really solid player and not even have the draft pick on him.
Yeah, I mean, we've addressed some of the minuses. When defenses are set, he does have trouble scoring. There's not a whole lot of volume or movement shooting in his game either. But there are some huge positives. Some of the clips I've seen of him attacking closeouts is very, very promising. He's got a really nice floater. So I think some of that intermediate game, he can find spots to score in. And there was an uptick from percentages finishing around the rim in his first season with G League Ignite. It was somewhere around 32%. He increased that to 45% with Metzger City. Now, that goes down when you start considering the half court. Once defenses get set, I think it dropped almost 10 points at 35%, finishing around the rim on layups when defenses were set. But in the open court, he is unstoppable. He's an elite athlete, and I mean elite.
Yep.
Windmill dunks, tomahawk dunks, dunking it with contact, absorbing contact, finishing through contact. He's an elite front court player. He might actually be the most athletic player on the Knicks roster right now. Him or Mitchell Robinson.
And we need more athleticism.
Bro, I don't know what it's so funny. The Knicks, the entire time I've been a fan since the year 2001, we've been the most least athletic team.
You know, right?
Yeah. I've got so many Frank Williams and Shannon Andersons and guys, Tracy McGrady, when he's absolutely cooked. These guys have no mobility and no athleticism. I like the fact that Leon Rose targeted 2 guys with high athletic upside, and Dink Pate, if he can become an on-ball threat, could be really dangerous at the point of attack. Again, it's about decision-making. It's about becoming comfortable with his body. It's about knowing how to score in half-court sets. When the defense is set and attuned to you and scouting for you, those are the things he needs to aware on, become more aware, as well as his reads, helping his teammates find easy scoring opportunities. I think he has a capacity. He's a smart kid, talented kid with a ton of upside. I think he's going to hit some of those and eventually become a rotational piece for us next year in spot minutes.
I like it. I like it. That's what's I'm excited about this. Like, it's
Me
weird
too,
to
bro.
say you're excited